Hey, I'm Andy Aledort, and in this edition of History of Rock, we're going to be taking an overview of the early to mid-60s British invasion. As the fire and fury of rockabilly and rock and roll was fading from view in American music in 1961 and 62, a cultural phenomenon was brewing in England that would soon be known as the British invasion. Starting in 1963 and into 1964, a slew of young British musicians, inspired by a myriad of American musical styles, from rock and roll to blues, R&B, and soul, began recording their own versions of American hits, along with writing their own groundbreaking rock and pop music. At the forefront of the British invasion were the Beatles, whose debut single from October 1962, Love Me Do, didn't chart till it was re-released in 1964, when it went to number one. The Beatles' first single was Please Please Me, released on February 7th, 1963. In the UK it reached number 2, but it did not chart in the US.
It all happened really when Please Please Me became a number one hit, and after that, well, Quarter Blimey's Heather No.
It wasn't until 1964 that the true invasion exploded in the US, with British singles ruling the charts and the airwaves month after month. The Search was Needles and Pins was released on January 7, 1964, and was written by Jack Nitschke and Sonny Bono. Dave Clark Five's Glad All Over was released in January of 1964, and it was their first number one in the British charts. You say that you need me, say you need me, you'll always be mine, always be mine. I'm feeling glad all over, yes I'm glad all over, baby I'm glad all over, so glad you're mine. Peter and Gordon's single World Without Love was released in February of 1964. Written by the Beatles, John Lennon, and Paul McCartney at a time when they were writing songs for many other artists, this track also went to number one in the UK. I don't care what they say, I won't stay in a world without love. The Rolling Stones released their first single, It's All Over Now, on August 22nd, 1964. It was written by Bobby Womack and recorded with his band the Valentinos before they covered it. And it earned the band their first number one hit. She done me wrong. She hurt my eyes open. That's no lie. Tables turning now. Her time to cry. Because I used to love her. But it's all over now. The Animals' debut single, House of the Rising Sun, was released on September 4th, 1964, and it went straight to number one. For many, it's the first song they ever learned how to play on guitar.
In New Orleans, they call the rising sun, and it's been the ruin of many a poor boy. In God, I know I'm one.
Manfred Mann's first single, Do Diddy Diddy, was a huge smash. It was released on September 12th, 64, and it spent 2 weeks at number 1.
Tapping her fingers and shuffling her feet, singing. She looked good, she looked fine, she looked good, she looked fine, and I nearly lost my mind.
The Kinks' You Really Got Me was released in the U.S. on October 24th, 1964. When it was released previously in August in the U.K., it went straight to number 1. In the U.S., it reached number 7.
You really got me now. You got me so I can't sleep at night. Yeah, you really got me now. You got me so I don't know what I'm doing now. Oh yeah, you really got me now. You got me so I can't sleep at night. You really got me. You really got me. You really got me.
The Zombies' debut single was She's Not There, released on November 7th, 1964. It held the number 2 spot in the charts for a week.
The way she lied. Well, no one told me about how many people cried. But it's too late to say you're sorry. How would I know? Why should I care? Please don't bother trying to find her. She's not there. Well, let me tell you about the way she looked, the way she acted, the color of her hair. Her voice was soft and cool, her eyes were clear and bright, but she's not there.
I Can't Explain by The Who was released in December 1964, and it was the band's second single. It would reach its highest chart position at number 8 the following April. There are many more bands that history includes as part of the British invasion, and in the following episodes we will focus on each of the most essential British invasion bands. For History of Rock, I'm Andy Aledort.